Well, hello everybody, it's Dr. Carmen Bryan. This is Car Chronicles. I didn't want to talk super loud like I always do because there's someone sitting right there and I had to roll up the windows. And I know they think I'm kind of awkward because I'm like having this whole conversation by myself, but I'm talking to you guys. Are you guys ready? Well, let's do this. Story time. You guys ready? I know you guys like these stories. I told the story before, but of course you guys have to go through like hundreds of videos in order for you to find the story, because sometimes I do tell stories about the situation I was in. And I remember this particular time, and I told the story before, where I was married to the narcissist and my kids were at home. My kids were younger at that particular time, and I was in the military. He was in the military, and he liked butter pecan ice cream. And as you guys know, and I said this before, I was almost close to 300 pounds a few years ago, but coming out of the military as well. The medication, the spinal injury, the stress of being in this situationship with this individual. My body was falling apart. Literally, my body was falling apart. My health, I was going through health situations. It was bad, sleep problems. Most military people have sleep problems. But it was horrible. Listen, and we're going to talk about the mental and physiological health when you come out of these situations. But I remember I used to have a sweet tooth. And that was my dysfunctional coping skills was overeating. At one point, I had became an anorexic, and I had my purse stolen, but I used to have the picture. I could have showed you the picture, but it was bad. I had become anorexic, and then I went through different stages. I looked good, I lost weight, I gained weight, and then I was almost 300 pounds. But I remember this particular time, he liked butter pecan ice cream, and he had eaten butter pecan ice cream, and then he had maybe like a half a cup of ice cream left in there. And it had been there for a while. I know it had been there like a week or two. Yes, it was in the freezer for like a week or two. And so in my mind, I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and eat it, and I'll just go get him another box of butter pecan, a fresh box of butter pecan ice cream from the store. And so I ate the ice cream. And so I don't know if I had left or something like that to the store. Or I don't know where I went. I didn't go to the store. I don't know where I went or went to work. And I came back, and when I walked into the house, he had my kids standing there. Both of my kids were standing there, but they looked horrified. Like, and I'm trying to figure out like what is going on. And so he's screaming at the top of his lungs. Those of you who know my ex, can't tell you who he is. I'm not going to tell you who he is. He had vein pulsating in the middle of his head and veins in his neck, but he's screaming, and he's trying to figure out who ate his ice cream, like a child having a temper tantrum. And he's screaming, his face is red, and he wants to know who ate the butter pecan ice cream. Now, he knew it was me, but the kids are telling him that, because I hadn't said anything, and the kids are telling him that they didn't eat it. And so he's screaming, and he's looking at me, and he literally threatens and says that because we wouldn't say anything, we're just staring at him. Nobody would say anything. I wouldn't even say anything, so we're just staring. So he threatens, which most narcissists do. They threaten to hurt your animals. They threaten to hurt you. They threaten to hurt your kids. He threatened to beat my children if I did not tell him who ate the ice cream. So he continued to do it. I still wouldn't say anything, and I'm just standing there staring. Now, for those of you that know me personally, got this little button that'll cause me to flip. He knew there's this button that will cause me just to flip out. And you talk about the Tasmanian devil. And I think in my mind, I can't justify anything. And I think in my mind, I was waiting for him to flip that button because I was ready to go into a rage myself and just tear up the house and everything in it. But I'm just staring, and I think I was in shock. Like, he threatened to physically, do physical violence to my children if I did not confess to who ate the ice cream. Basically, it was me. And so I finally looked at him and said, I ate the ice cream. And so he began to insult me, to tell me what a horrible mother I am. He told me I was a sorry mother. And I heard this for years. I was a sorry mother. You were willing to sacrifice your kids, because you wouldn't open up your mouth and be honest and all sorts of stuff. Some of you guys know the story. You guys know the story because it's like I'm reliving your story for you because this is exactly what you've been through. But he did that for years. He always talked about what a bad mother I was and how horrible of a mother I was. So I heard this for years. So I literally started believing that I was not a good mother. And I remember my mentor, my mother, asking me when I had my youngest child. She said, "Do you think that you're not a good mother? Do you think that, are you afraid, of being a mother. And I told her I think I was a bad mother, Now rewind the story a little bit before I got to that part. He also wanted me to have a baby. And at that particular time, I didn't want to have a baby because my career, I was in the military, my career was going well, I was a fast pacer. He was the troublemaker in the military. That's why most people are shocked at the fact that he made it as far as he made it, because he was a civilian in a uniform. And most people that know him knew that he was a horrible soldier. But in the military, it's about rank, what the paperwork looked like, what you do to achieve, and who you know to keep you from getting in trouble. So I'm surprised he never got in trouble. Well, he got in trouble all the time. He just never got kicked out. But I was a fast pacer. And so at that particular time, and I did have favor, because I did what I was supposed to do. I had this thing called discipline, and I listened to authority. And so I was a fast pacer. So I wasn't ready for a child. So he told me that the reason why I didn't want to have a child, because I knew I was a sorry parent, and that I probably wouldn't take care of the child, and I probably wouldn't neglect the child. So he's using this, manipulation tactics to try to force me to have a kid. Well, that's not going to force me to have a kid, but to force me to have a kid, right? He also tells me that, later on when I did decide, it was time to have a baby, he also let me know, he said it didn't matter, whether I wanted to have a baby or not. He wanted to have a baby. So at all costs, whatever he had to do to have a baby, he was going to have a baby with me or without me. Now think about it. I was married to this person, and this is what this person is saying, this narcissist is saying, right? And so when I do have the baby and everything, once again, the manipulation starts. Now, either I'm a bad parent or I'm not a bad parent. Either I'm sorry, I don't know how to take kids, I'm a sorry parent, or I'm not. Let's make up our mind. What we gonna do? What we gonna do here? What we gonna do? What we doing here, right? So I have my baby, and little girl, my daughter. I'm enjoying being a mother. He hates the fact that I'm enjoying being a mother. So of course now it's, you need to do this with her. You need to do that with her. You're a sorry mother, and you don't have no connection, and there's no connection. Now keep in mind, he's also parentally trying to alienate my daughter from me, which he tried to do with the older ones, but that didn't work. Tried to alienate me from the youngest one, and it worked for a short period of time until I had to work toward getting her back, getting her mind back. And I'm going to talk about that right before we end this video. But then it became a matter of, I didn't know how to parent. I didn't know what I was doing. Now keep in mind, this is coming from a man who's telling me how to be a mother, who has never been a mother before. But he's telling me what I need to be doing and what kind of woman am I. So keep in mind, this is all in my head. I'm just horrible parent, so I'm trying really hard to be this good parent. I'm not saying anything, but I'm really torn up on the inside. That's probably why I was almost 300 pounds at one particular time. So I wanted to tell that part of the story to tell this part of the story, ladies and gentlemen, because some of you guys are going through it as well. What I'm going to tell you is this: be your true, authentic self, especially when you're having to co-parent with a narcissist. It's counterproductive, because they don't co-parent with you, because anything you do, and if the child favors you, or if the child loves you, or it doesn't matter, they love the parents, whatever, they don't like it because they just don't like it. They only like themselves. But the one thing that I will tell you is to continue doing what you're doing. Don't compete with a narcissist. Don't compete, because some of these narcissists have money. They throw money at the kids. They make it rain. They're the fun parent. They do everything to try to compete with you. But do not compete with that parent. Do not compete with that narcissist. Don't try to win the child's affection. You continue to do what you're supposed to do. You teach that child temperance. You teach the child empathy. You teach that child responsibility and accountability. You teach that child that there are consequences to your actions. Now, keep in mind that they get to a certain age, they don't want to be around you because of the fact that you're mean. You say no, so you're mean. But that's how the narcissists, remember, that's narcissists are created. And the parents give in. You don't give in. You maintain. And sometimes it's going to get hard. You're going to cry because it seems like you're a bad parent. They don't love you. They want to, but a child craves what they don't have. So when the other parent is not in the home, they crave what they don't have. And you remember, they love bombs. So they crave that thing that's an illusion to them, that the illusion that this narcissist creates. You have to be your true, authentic self. They got to have rules. They got to have guidelines. There are chores that are done. There are consequences to your actions. I don't care how much it breaks your heart. You make sure they have consequences to your action and accountability, because you're raising somebody's husband or wife, and you don't want to raise a narcissist in your own home. So you stay your true, authentic self. And I'm telling you, I promise you this, my children came back after all these years in their 30s and told me, I'm glad that you're the mother that you are. I'm glad that you are who you are, because you were never like this and you were like that. And they showed me gratitude. It's worth it, y'all.